Hey guys, it's Casey and good morning. Welcome back to my channel, welcome back to my bed, and unfortunately, welcome to day one of Vlogmas. Huzzah! Which shockingly, probably to nobody, but shockingly is nowhere near as holly jolly as one would be forgiven for thinking that it would be, considering, that it is day one of Vlogmas. Nay, it is hour one of Vlogmas, but I honestly and truly am already well and over it. Not just Vlogmas, so I'm certain that will come with time. I will be well and truly over that too. But just with the concept of Christmas in general, which is its own very special form of tragedy if you take into consideration that, technically speaking, this is the first ever Christmas that I am actually committed to celebrating in my entire life. I have never celebrated Christmas ever. For the past 11 years that I've been here, I have always spent Christmas with my friends, which will not change this year. I fully intend to spend the 24th and the 25th with my friends, so that is still set in stone. However, I have always spent Christmas with them, specifically for them, because I don't celebrate Christmas. Christmas is not celebrated where I come from. We celebrate Saturnalia, which is completely and totally different holiday, but also not a completely and different, totally different holiday in that I think Christmas is a direct continuation of what Saturnalia is, but I've never celebrated it before. And so this year was supposed to be the first day in which I was going to do that. Because to be completely and totally transparent, I do not care about the day one way or another. I would be perfectly content to just sit at home alone on Christmas Eve and I was going to say Christmas New Year's Eve day, but I don't think that's the right wording for it. But I would be completely and totally happy to just sit at home alone, watching Netflix reruns all day and all night and eating chips. Because honestly, where I live, I don't think would make that much of a difference anyway from day-to-day life. Because out here, the 24-hour gas station closes at 7 p.m, bank holiday or non-bank holiday. So I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. It's not like there's any small town magic out here where the lawyer comes back from the city to marry the Christmas tree farmer. No, this is the kind of small town magic where, for fun on the weekends, people do meth. Like, what do you want me to say? That, I'm so excited, I'm going to miss out on this, I'm going to miss out on that. It's like, no, I have no strong feelings towards Christmas at all. But historically, it has mattered to my friends that I show up. So I showed up. But this year, I have, unfortunately and disgustingly, pledged that I'm going to make an effort for myself when it comes to Christmas. And I have dived in, financially speaking, head first. I have dived into the sugar-coated chaos that is Christmas. I have brought an overpriced plastic tree and the itchy-ass tinsel. I am more prepared for Christmas, materially speaking, than a fundamental Christian is for the rapture. Like, I am balls deep in this. Quite literally, I am balls deep in this. I have got balls for days out in my living room, and I don't know what to do with them. I have to be honest, in case you haven't put two and two together yet. So far, not a huge fan of the holly jolly spirit. Because, as it turns out, Christmas is expensive, like stupidly expensive. And don't get me wrong, Saturnalia is stupidly expensive too, but there is a difference. There is a fundamental difference in the way that the two holidays go about spending money. Because, from my perspective, which admittedly is a very limited outsider perspective, but from my perspective, spending money seems to kind of almost be the entire point of the Christmas holiday. So Nate and I went to the big town for Black Friday sales because I wanted to get a Pilates reformer. And let me tell you, it was complete and total bedlam in there. It was insane. Insanity on full show. Like, there was people screaming and people running and people shoving each other and slamming their trolleys into each other's ankles. I was legitimately getting war flashbacks. It was like the start of the Hunger Games where they all come up through the elevators and onto the arena and they jump off the platform and they've got to run and get all the survival gear. But instead of survival gear, it was just like a coffin-sized box of beads that they were about to disembowel each other over. Now, am I only holding this attitude towards Black Friday sales and the consumerism of Christmas because I didn't end up getting the Pilates reformer that we went for? No, I don't think I am. I think that I would hold this opinion either way. Not least of all that had I truly actually wanted to get it, I could have done so because they had a whole trolley of it that they just dumped in the middle of the aisle, because that's another thing about Black Friday sales, is that they don't do the civilized thing of putting the stock on the shelf so everyone can line up in a nice orderly queue and pick it up and leave and go to the counter and buy it. No, they just dump the entire stock in the middle of the store and let people go full on yellow jackets over it. It's less flash sale and more unsupervised pit brawl. Kind of like WWE, but nobody's butted up for safety. We went in, we looked at it, and then after about 5 minutes and having to be forced to bear witness to two grown-ass women getting into a verbal altercation in the middle of a shopping market because who had the claimant rights to the cold plunge pool that looked like a glorified trash can, I was just like, get me out of here. So we left without a reformer, which is probably for the best, because Nate made the very fair observation that even if I had gotten the reformer, I wouldn't be able to move it around. Like in my head, I was picturing it as like collapsible, which it was. It was a collapsible Pilates reformer, but it was really, really heavy. So I wouldn't have been able to keep moving it in and out by myself. So it would have just sat in the middle of my living room and it would have pissed me off and I would have grown resentful of it. So maybe not buying it was for the best. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. I did learn a very valuable lesson from my attempts to go to Kmart on a Black Friday, and that is I have developed a newfound appreciation for my past self, who almost got in to the festive spirit, who brought a few cute ornaments here and there with the intention of leaning into it a little bit more, only to lose my nerve at the last moment and slowly back away from all the chaos. Because from where I'm sitting right now, this whole holiday feels a little bit silly. Now, is my stance on Christmas being influenced by the fact that I think that Saturnalia is an inherently better holiday? Yes, I do. Yes, it would be. And I would be a dirty, dirty liar if I said otherwise. But then again, let's be completely transparent. If we're going down that route and just say that the vast majority of my content and my videos on here are just me ranting about that, like, that I think that, you know, my culture is superior and I think that yours is worse. But to be fair, again, full transparency, when I'm at home, I also think the opposite. I just have come to the conclusion that I'm never happy no matter where I am in life. But in this specific case, with this specific holiday, I do think, even removing my tendency to just support the other side, I do objectively think that my opinion is true this time. Christmas just doesn't seem to have any true cultural significance. It's just consumerism, pure consumerism disguised as tradition. Just spend, 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 and then when you finish spending, you got to spend a little bit more so you can get the wrapping paper and the ribbons and the cards that everyone's just going to chuck in the bin anyway. You need a present for your mum, you need a present for your dad, for your sister, for your brother, for your brother's girlfriend, for your best friend, for your best friend's boyfriend, for your best friend's hamster, for everybody in between that is conceivable for you to think of. You need to spend money on them. Never mind the chronic back pain you're going to develop from crouching on the floor for 4 hours with a million paper cards. Your boss needs that $9 fake succulent more than you need spinal integrity, so get wrapping, you little festive goblin. Go, 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 do, do, do. End result, everyone's broke, everyone's tired, and for what? Just so you can go to eat dinner, an expensive dinner with people that you hate, and resentfully pull a cracker so that you can wear a paper crown on your head for the entirety of 3 minutes before you throw it into the bin with all the relevance of a used tissue. One of the activities that I was throwing up around in the air for Vlogmas is that I was going to make a proper Christmas Eve dinner. Not on Christmas Eve, just, you know, on one of the random December nights. I was going to cook a dinner with the whole, you know, ham and the honey roasted carrots, but I'm not going to, because I know that I'm going to hate every single moment of it. Because what is a Christmas Eve roast dinner other than a glorified normal roast dinner that just costs $70 more and for some reason has anime reindeer napkins? Because you can't just have normal napkins at Christmas. Oh no, you need the special napkins, the ones that are covered in gold glitter and has Merry Xmas written on it in font that is designed by Satan himself. And don't forget the crackers. We definitely need the crackers so that we can all resentfully pull them. Ooh, how fun! And they wear the stupid little hats on their head for the entirety of 3 minutes before getting sick of them because they get covered in sweat, especially in Australia, because again, it's hot as balls out here during Christmas. So you get little colourful pieces of paper stuck to your head. So you take them off and you chuck them in the bin like you're shredding the last parts of your dignity. And the supermarkets, they're not stupid. They're billion-dollar giants for a reason. So sure, they're going to put the ham on sale and you're going to think it's a really good deal, but it's not a good deal because what they've done is that they have hacked up the price of carrots to such an astronomical level that friggin' NASA is reporting to Houston that they've got a problem. Yeah, the problem is that they're going bankrupt buying sides because the supermarkets know that you're not going to sit there freaking shoveling cooked ham into your mouth with no sides like you're a barbarian in a cave on Christmas Eve. No, you need the sides. And that's how you get got. Oh God, I already know that I'm going to hate this month. I'm going to hate it so much. Like the rose-colored glasses, they haven't even just come off. They have shattered into a million tiny pieces. But what can I do? There's nothing I can do. I have brought the tree. I went out and even while I was buying it, I'm like, what am I doing? This is not the right move to be making. But I did it anyway. And once you've done it, you kind of have to lock in. You have to commit. Ooh, I want to get into the Christmas spirit. I don't want to get into the Christmas spirit. So first of all, I got to go and put up the tree. I will bring you along for that. I don't know how that's going to go. I hope it's not going to be as bad as I'm currently picturing it in my mind. I'm fully expecting it to even be worse than what I'm picturing it in my mind because I have no coordination. I have said before, I've got a traumatic brain injury, and so I can't use both hands at the same time. I can use one hand perfectly well, but once bilateral comes into it, I am completely and totally lost. So I'm going to go do that, and then this afternoon, there is a Christmas market going on in the main town, which I'm going to because it is a very big community event in my town. People come from all around to come to this. It's one of the biggest community events of the entire year because there is a huge lake in the center of my town, in the heart of my town, and they set up all around it. So it's like 11 kilometers of stalls selling junk. Like I said, consumerism on crack. I've actually only ever been to the market once when I first moved here many, many years ago, and I haven't been back since because in case you missed the memo of this video so far, I do not celebrate Christmas, so I have no need to go to a Christmas market. But apparently this year I'm just full of holly jolly delusion, and so I figure, why not? Let's go meet up with my friends and go on a celebratory walk with 1,000 other strangers to spend $1,000. Huzzah. Ah, there she blows. The bane of my existence at the moment. You know, once I open this, I'm not going to be able to get a refund on it anymore. I'm going to have to store it for next year and commit to every year after, which was the main reason that I didn't want to get a Christmas tree in the first place. But unfortunately, I don't think that a refund is really an option right now because I'm pretty sure that I've lost the receipt. Because if I didn't, I probably would have refunded it already and just call the whole thing off. But alas, we must push forward through our struggles in life. So let's go. One of the main reasons that I'm really reluctant to do Christmas this year actually has nothing to do with the ornaments, the cost of the ornaments, or the tree itself. One of the reasons that I'm really reluctant to actually put this tree up and get it all done is that, as I said in the last video, every single year, Nate and I have got a tradition where we give each other an advent calendar, right? Which is a Saturnalia tradition. It's not a Christmas tradition, but it has good flow on. We've been able to do it pretty successfully for the last 3 or 4 years. However, when I floated the idea that I was going to do Christmas proper this year, Nate got very excited and he decided that he was going to give me a proper Christmas, the Christmas that I should have had as a child, as if I missed out on anything of note, which I don't think I did. Like I said, I truly do believe that Saturnalia is a superior holiday, and I stand by that. However, it's worth noting that Nate grew up in a very, very wealthy family. And when I say rich, I am talking rich with a capital B, baby. Like, full on. Exactly what you're thinking. And so I am a bit nervous to see exactly what a traditional Christmas looks like from his perspective, because he doesn't talk to his family, hasn't spoken to his family for the last 15-ish years. However, his experience of a normal childhood Christmas in that regards is still very heavily influenced by that time in his life. So I'm a bit nervous to wake up tomorrow and see exactly what he's given me. I've already dropped his off at hospital. Because he lives in a van, he does van life. He's a van lifer, quote unquote. Thank you for that, internet. His van is too small for me to put his stuff at his house bed. So I put it at the hospital, under the tree at the hospital. He's going to put mine here tomorrow while I'm at work, so I will come home to my advent calendar, and I'm very, very nervous to see what constitutes a proper Christmas for him. So stay tuned. We will put this tree up and pray for the best. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed by the name. Praying to a God that I don't believe in. Whatever. Let's go. Okay, tree is up. It is crooked, and it is shredding like a feral cat, and I am actively making eye contact with about 3 different ornaments right now, and they are staring at me very passive-aggressively in a very humanoid manner that makes me think that they are possessed by the ghost of Christmas future, which is a terrifying thought, but the thing is done, the tree is up, I can't complain. I am exhausted. I am, I think, mildly poisoned by glitter from all the decorations that I put up there, which cannot be lung safe. And all of this combined has led me to question my life choices that have led me to this very moment of buying a Christmas tree and putting it up. But hey, festive trauma is still festive. I need to go lie down before I head out because this was a lot of work and I have to take it down still. How horrible. This is fine. Everything is fine. The tree is crooked, the branches are unevenly distributed, and I'm pretty sure the lights are screaming for help in Morse code, and I am absolutely spiraling, but merry and bright indeed. Oh, look! Here's the ornament, the $60 ornament that I brought during last year's emotional breakdown when I thought that I was going to celebrate Christmas for real. And so, naturally, I have put it front and center on my tree as a trophy. And people do this for fun every single year. I will not be doing this every single year. No way! Hello, I am back from the market. Did I end up filming at the market as promised? Technically, yes, I did end up filming at the market. I filmed you guys a little clip of a very beautiful black swan and a little babies eating grass, which was the most adorable thing that I've seen all week, honestly. And then immediately after filming that little clip, I lost my microphone, and that was the end of that. Literally, within 5 minutes of us arriving, I lost my microphone. It was there one moment, and then it was vanished the next, presumed dead, never to be seen or heard from again, so. But honestly, you didn't miss much, even if I hadn't lost my mic and filmed everything that I saw and did. It wasn't that exciting because it was bucketing down rain, and despite the very poor weather conditions, I still swear that every single person, at least half the state's population, decided to show up to ramble around in the rain like very water-drenched zombies. And I'm not even talking about the good World War Z variety of zombies. No, I'm talking about pure Walking Dead style zombies. Calling what they were doing walking is an overestimation, like a gross overestimation of what they were doing. They were rambling. They were dragging their legs around like they were broken. We got food. We got a lamb gosmali, which we always get whenever we go to one of these markets or festivals that my town hosts. So that wasn't new, but it was delicious. And we got a giant duck spring roll, which was new, which is good. You should always try new foods when you go to these sort of events. So that was our new food for the day. It was really good though. Would eat again, would recommend. And at this point, Ash and Michelle were just completely and totally over it because again, the rain hadn't let up, so everyone was getting drenched. And Michelle, being a high-ranking police officer with rockstar parking privileges, was like, hey, get into my car and I will drive you back to your car. That way you don't have to get soaked to the bone. But do you think that we took her up on that? No, we did not take her up on the offer. Because somewhere in the deep marshes of this market was the mystical food zone that we had not visited yet. And do you know what was in this mystical food zone? There was the Korean hot dogs with the cheese inside of it. They are the most delicious thing that I have ever eaten in my entire life, and Nate agrees with it. And so we were going to battle through this public gathering of slow walking people and people walking backwards and people with no self-awareness of what's going on around them, just so we could have the opportunity to find the sacred stall that was selling these hot dogs. And so Ash and Michelle left, like the very clever people that they are, and Nate and I marched forward like we're on the long walk, driven by the illusional promise of molten cheese on a stick. Big mistake. Huge. Because I think that we had separated from Michelle and Ash for maybe the entirety of 7 minutes before it starts pouring down. Like I am talking torrential, biblical, end of days, Noah gathered the animals for the ark, downfall here. And so what do we end up doing? Nate and I end up taking cover from the rain on Ronald's porch because, of course, Ronald lives in the middle of a park. Where else would he live? He's a huge attention-craving, seeking egomaniac with he's horrible. And he's the only person in the entire world in which a local government would go, yes, you know what? Living in the middle of a public park, the only person to do so is such a grand idea. But actually, I think it's a bit like the Notting Hill Carnival where Ronald's never actually there during the chaos. He always seems to disappear whenever events are on. And so he was away. The house was empty except for Jake. Jake was there, and Jake is one of Ronald's assistants, bodyguards, servants, I don't know, pick the right word. No matter what word you use, it's all cult adjacent. But Jake always makes me laugh, not because he himself is particularly funny. Like, he's not bad. He's not a mean person, but he's not overly funny. But what is funny is that Ronald's entire entourage has these really overly theatrical names, like something from the Greek tragedy. It's a bit like that SNL skit with Anne Hathaway where it's kind of like, I'm Homer, do-do-do-do. I'm Ulysses, do-do-do-do. I'm Archimedes, do-do-do-do. And I am Jake. And it makes me laugh every single time that I think about it. But no, Jake was pretty nice about it. He just gave us a little wave. He didn't kick us off the porch or really say anything at all. He didn't call security. He just left us to our own devices where he went about doing whatever he was doing inside the house. I didn't go inside the house. I wasn't going to go inside the house come hell or high water. Going inside Ronald's house is one step too far for me. It's never going to happen, regardless of whether he's there or not. But yeah, eventually we had to leave of our own regard. Anyway, just the rain was way, way too much. And so we had to make the very treacherous journey back to our car, which was essentially parked halfway into another postcode because some genius had the grand idea that on this weekend where they're having half the state come to the town to visit this market, they're going to close the main parking lot to the park itself where it's being hosted. Purely out of spite, I'm assuming, because there's no other reason to do it. But so we drove home, we got in the door, stripped off all our clothes, which at this point was like wearing wet tissue paper on our skin, showered and inhaled our market haul, which included just a regular hot dog that we stopped on the way back to the car and picked up. And they were perfectly fine. They were delicious. In fact, they were delicious, but they just paled in comparison to the molten cheese miracle that is the Korean hot dog. That unfortunately we missed again, which is the second time this year that we've missed it because the last time that our town does 2 or 3 of these food festivals every single year, largely just to keep the locals from rioting. They're not that big. They're just small with like maybe a dozen or so food trucks. But we missed the last one as well because they changed locations and then Nate and I got lost because we'd never been there before and we ended up driving out into the outback. So we didn't get it that time either. So twice in a row, 3 times a hat trick. I think we're just going to have to call it quits with the Korean hot dogs. But then after we finished eating, we drove over to Cal's house. And that's the point of me even telling the story in the first place, is that we drove over to Cal's house with our leftovers because, market food is really, really expensive. So there's no point in wasting it. So we went to take it to her and her husband so that they could eat it. Now, Nate's van is currently parked on Cal's property at the back. So while I was in there talking to her, he popped out to his van and he came back with my early Christmas present, like my actual proper Christmas present, because the way that we do the advent calendar is that the majority of the presents have to come from either an op shop, so a thrift store, or they have to come from a garage sale. And then the big present that you get on Christmas Day is like the proper present. So I knew that he was going to get me the Pilates reformer before we went on Black Friday and it just wasn't going to work out. So now he's going to get me one of those Pilates mats instead. But he has to order that. And then he was going to get me a different present because the presents have to be like $300-$400. So he came in and he handed it to me and said that I would get more use out of it this day because I lost my microphone. And he got me I'll show you, he got me some cool stuff. Got the Xerox for that. It was a new mic. So clean, so shiny, so functional. I love it so much. The true hero of the day. Because just in case you weren't aware, this is what I have been working with the past year and a half. It is the worst tripod in the history of the world. As you can see, it is taped to the top of my good markers because it would just try to escape whatever angle I put it at all costs. I would turn my back. I swear it was possessed. I would turn my back and the next thing I would come back, blink, turn back around, and it would be halfway across the room with no plausible reason for how it got there. It needed to be taped down. But that meant that I had to sacrifice my good markers in order to put that on top of it, which means I haven't been able to use my good markers that entire time. So I'm very much looking forward to having the freedom to do whatever I want with my own belongings and part ways